everybody and welcome to the 2022 Mystery Cushion Club. We're about to begin on the 12th mystery cushion in my Mystery Cushion Club collection. We began way back in 2011 with the very first design for the club called Tribal Africa, and some of you may well have knitted that design up. This year we are going on a very, very colourful journey. There's lots of bright colours, both yarns and beads, and hopefully this cheerful palette is going to keep you motivated all the way through the 5 months of the club. This year we have 250 members signed up to the club, and we have members from all over the world. And I always find this absolutely brilliant that to think that knitters all over the world would be knitting this project up at the same time. So this year we have members from a huge amount from the USA, but also from France, Norway, Germany, Australia, Canada, Austria, Belgium, the Netherlands, Malaysia, China, Poland, and this year in the Mystery Cushion we have our first ever member from Poland. So welcome Philomena to the Cushion Club this year. And we also have members from Ireland and the UK. So that's lovely, isn't it, to think that all these people are knitting up the project at the same time. It's a real global club, and I'm so pleased that you have signed up and you are coming on this journey with me. All of the parcels have now been posted, and in your kit you will find that you have everything that you need to knit up your cushion. So that includes 10 balls of yarn, 6 packs of beads, a woven label in a small coloured envelope, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. There's also a pack of buttons for your fastenings, a colour coder, and a welcome letter. And it's well worth checking page 2 of the June mail out just to make sure that you have everything that you should have in your kit. And if anything is missing, do get in touch straight away. Email sue@debbieabrahams.com and we will sort that out for you. We pack the parcels incredibly carefully, so hopefully everything will be there, but it's just worth a check before you start knitting. So at the beginning of each instalment, which is the 15th of the month, it's a mid-month launch, unlike the mystery blanket, which is a first of the month launch. So middle of the month, the best thing to do is to come here to my blog on my website and to just listen in to the sort of latest news that I will talk to you about the club. I will give you lots of advice about the patterns that you'll be knitting that month. There's also a written blog which is well worth a read because there's lots of extra information in there about what you're going to be knitting during each month. It's a good place to come, good starting point. Get yourself sort of fully prepared, all the knowledge that you need, all the information you need before you start knitting each instalment. There are also some online groups on social media set up. There's a Ravelry group set up for Debbie Abrahams Mystery Clubs, and there's also a group on Facebook. So do sort of get involved with those clubs if you feel you need that extra support. These groups are incredibly helpful. They're a really friendly bunch of people who are only too happy to jump in and help out if you need some help or you've got a query or you're not sure about something. Alternatively, of course, you can contact me, debbie@debbieabrahams.com, or you can contact Sue at sue@debbieabrahams.com, and she will pass any messages on to me that I need to answer. You know, do keep in touch, do let me know how you're getting on, any queries, any concerns, anything at all you're not sure about. We're always here to help you, so do please get in touch if you need to. So this is how the club works. Every month, on the 15th of the month, you are going to be emailed a set of patterns. Now, if you opted for printed patterns, then you will receive both emailed and printed patterns, and you will be sent a brochure each month, a printed brochure that you can work from. It's identical in its content to the emailed version. If you've opted for printed, that's what you're going to get. If you haven't, you'll just get the emailed version. I know a lot of you as well like to work from a digital file, so you will be able to download this file onto your gadgets, your iPads and your tablets, and be able to use it that way. So it all depends on how you wish to work. But if you haven't ordered printed patterns and you suddenly decide that you'd really like to add that to your order, it's not too late at all. Just contact us, we can sort out the payment with you, and then you can have the set of printed patterns. You will receive each set of printed patterns monthly. You won't be sent them all together. So this is, you know, a project where the theme is revealed bit by bit over 5 months, June, July, August, September, October. The project will be revealed and you'll be knitting up new squares each month. So next I'm going to talk you through the file. The file is laid out the same way every month. It's laid out exactly the same way as the blanket file, and I know that many of you that have signed up for the cushion are also Mystery Blanket members, so you'll be familiar with the layout, but for anybody that's new to this, I'm just going to talk you through sort of basically how it works. After the front cover on page 1, page 2 is really your contents page. On the left hand side here, there's a list of the squares that you're going to be knitting. In the centre is a list of the contents of your kit, and on the far right hand side here are a few sort of extra notes there. Now I've noticed that it says that please note that fastenings for your cushion cover are not included in your kit. Well, they are actually included in your kit. You'll have a little packet like this with your buttons in. These have been handmade by Emma Humphreys, who is a very talented button maker. I met Emma in the Scilly Isles last year. She makes the most wonderful buttons out of Fimo, and she colour matched. She had samples of the yarn and she colour matched the buttons to the yarns for the project, and I kind of gave her a bit of a free rein and just said, Emma, just go away and do whatever be creative, do whatever you want to do, make some wonderful buttons for me. So she's made sets, and they're all not all slightly different. She's made batches so that within the buttons that we sent out there are some variations, but they're all extremely beautiful. I really hope you like them. They're very special buttons that Emma's made especially for this project. Okay, so on page 3 then, there's some important information there that really does need to be read before you start. It talks about tension. Now, tension is obviously extremely important. You need to try and match the tension given in the pattern so that your cushion cover comes up the right size, just as close as possible as you can get it. It's Rowan Merino Light DK, which is the yarn that you're using for your tension swatch, and the suggested needle size for that is 3.50 millimetre, which is a US 4. There's no UK equivalent for that needle size, and you're working a stocking stitch tension swatch for that. The tension is 24 stitches and 34 rows to 10 centimetres. That's what you're aiming for. In the written blog, I'm going to talk through exactly how you do, how you should knit up a tension square. So if you're not sure how to do that, if you've never done one before, I strongly suggest that you do one for this project. It will just ensure that your squares are coming up to the right size. And also, if your knitting is too loose or too tight, it will affect the yarn quantities, the amount of yarn that you use. So it's really important that you do that before you do anything this month. The finished cushion will accommodate a 40 centimetre by 40 centimetre cushion pad. However, I would strongly recommend that you do not buy your cushion pad until you finish the project, just because if you don't quite match the tension, your cushion cover will come out slightly bigger or slightly smaller than that 40 centimetre measurement. It doesn't really matter as long as you're happy with the cushion and you've got enough yarn for it, that's fine, but I would leave that until the end. Don't go buying the pad just yet. There's also a little bit of information there about blocking and pressing. Hugely important to finish your squares. It fully relaxes the stitches. Again, I'll talk about that in the written blog in a bit more detail, and just give you some hints and tips about how I block and press, but that is incredibly important as well. On page 4 then, we have piecing diagrams. This one here is for the front panel and this one here for the back panel. And each month what we will do, we will add in images of the squares that you're knitting. So you'll see that a picture will gradually build up month by month of the cushion cover, and you can see from the diagrams there how that is progressing. So the notes pages are useful for just making notes about anything at all while you're knitting. It could be that you need to note down a needle size if you've used a different size to the given pattern. It might be that about a particular way that you've cast on or picked up the stitches. Anything really that you do while you're knitting that you feel would be helpful if you made a note about it. So that's what the notes pages are for. Okay, so on to the patterns then. I'm just going to sort of show you how one of them is laid out, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the patterns in greater detail a little bit later on. They're all laid out in the same way, and that is that you have your image here of the square. Now, I will just say, sometimes to fit the image into the space, the squares are cropped. Some of the stitches and rows are sometimes not visible in the image, so just be aware of that. We do our best to sort of fit it in, but sometimes we just have to crop at the edges. You have underneath the image here, you have the yarns and the beads that are needed for that square. Plus here, your suggested needle sizes in some boxed information on the far left-hand side of the page. There are some pattern notes and tips here, which are very important to read. They give you some hints and tips about the square, about the techniques that are used, anything sort of to watch out for. And then follows the pattern, okay, pattern instructions. And where possible, and if sort of I feel necessary, I do include worded instructions and a chart. So for example, for the crazy cable, a little bit later on, your third square, you have worded instructions, but you also have a chart that you can follow too. I know that some of you prefer a chart, some of you prefer worded. It all depends on how you prefer to work, how you prefer to knit. No way is better than the other. It's just completely personal preference. So you have the chance there to actually, decide which you want to follow. You can follow both if you like. So there's an option there. Just another thing about the patterns, there is no option 2 for any of the squares. So in the mystery blanket, you can knit an easier square if you feel that the colour work that is in a particular square is going to be a bit too tricky for you, or you just don't fancy it. In the cushion, there are no options. Everybody knits the same squares, but if you watch my technical videos that follow this introduction, then hopefully they will give you lots and lots of very valuable help about the techniques that are needed to knit the squares. So the squares this month that you have to knit, I'm just going to go through that, but there's lots of extra information in the written blog about this. Hearts and flowers is your first square. It's a Fair Isle square. You need to use the Fair Isle technique to knit this square, okay? So there's 3 bands of patterning. There's 2 sort of flower motifs with hearts in the centre. There's a decorative slip stitch pattern in between here. Square number 2 is rainbow. So this is a nice easy stripe to knit. Okay, it has slip stitch beads in it. It uses all the colours, or almost all the colours of the rainbow. That's what it was inspired by. It includes some changes of needle sizes because you've got some rows of garter stitch there, so just be aware of that. You're going to pick this square up from the cast off edge of square 1, okay? And I'll give you plenty of information on that in the written blog. Also, there's a technical video to help you with that. And the third square you're knitting is crazy cable, and it is crazy because in this cable you're going to be knitting intarsia cables. Now, I don't want anybody to panic about this. It's all about your preparation. Please watch my blog. I've got a blog about how to cast on in multicolour and how to knit the intarsia cables. I think once you've been shown, just just have a go at it. You can always email me if you feel you're getting in a pickle with it. But it's, you know, you can do it. I know that you can do it. Follow my instructions, watch my videos, make yourself a cup of tea, biscuit on the side, nice and relaxed. You'll be absolutely fine. And I think you will just amaze yourself this month at what you can achieve. Okay. So next I'm going to talk about your colour coder. I would recommend that you set this up before you start knitting. Very, very simply, tie a little bit of each yarn onto the coder and write by it the name of it and the shade number. This will act then as a really handy reference while you're knitting, and it's really important that you do pick up the correct yarn that you're instructed to in the pattern. And as you can see, we've got 3 purpley shades here. 2 of them are incredibly similar to each other, 2 sort of yellow, green, limey shades here too. So it's really important that you have that all set up, ready to go before you start. And it's a good idea just to sort of prep yourself, make sure that you've got all the bits and pieces you need. So you're going to need the specified knitting needles. In the welcome letter, we missed off, I think it was the 2.50mm needles. I did send you all an email about that. You will need 2.50mm needles. There's other sizes too that you will need in the patterns. I put that in the welcome letter. Your main needle size being 3.50mm. You will need a cable needle. You will need a needle and thread for threading beads onto yarn. You will need a small crochet hook, about a 0.6mm, maximum size 0.75mm needle for hooking in beads, or dental floss, oral bead dental floss. Again, I talk about that in the written blog, so do read that. A pair of scissors, you'll need a blunt sewing up needle, you'll need a sharp needle for sewing in ends, loose ends. You also could benefit from having a notebook and pencil, although you can obviously use the notes pages in your brochure. If you don't want to do that, set yourself up with a notebook. It's a really good way of recording your progress as you knit up the cushion. You could write down all the important things that you need to remember as you're working on it. Just a couple more things then. On the website, if you scroll down on the homepage to the bottom, there is a section called Addendum, and in there I will include any corrections. Hopefully we won't have many, if any, but if there is anything that crops up that's reported to me, I do add it straight away to the addendums on the website, and we will also send you an email to let you know if there has been a correction. We have a very good test knitter that works on the patterns each month, and we also have a pattern editor and other checks that are done on the patterns. So we do scrutinise them, but sometimes the odd thing does sneak through. So before you start knitting any of your squares each month, I would recommend that you take a look at the addendum page just to see if anything has been flagged up, and probably check it each time you start a square in each month just to see if anything has been flagged up. Hopefully there won't be anything, but it's worth doing as it could save you a lot of time. So I mentioned earlier about the woven label, which you'll find in your kit in a small little coloured envelope, something like this. It might not be this colour, we use different coloured envelopes, but it will look like this, okay? And the whole point of the Mystery Cushion Club is that you're knitting up a project, you don't know what it is. It's all supposed to be extremely exciting. Each month I give you clues in the blog as to the theme. So if you open up your envelope, you will find the title of the cushion on the woven label. So I would strongly suggest that you don't open this if you want to keep it a mystery. Please do email any ideas you have about what it could be called. I always base the cushion theme on a spring-summer trend, so it might not be an obvious title, but I'll be interested to see what your guesses are and what your thoughts are about the theme. You know, if you do take a sneaky peek at this, you will reveal the mystery, but that's up to you. That's totally up to you. I think the whole fun of it is trying to guess it as you go along, and it's lovely to hear your thoughts and ideas. So do send them in to me, debbie@debbieabrahams.com or sue@debbieabrahams.com, and we can tell you whether or not you are right with your guess. Okay, so I'm going to sign off now and leave you to make a start on your project. I really hope that you enjoy this first set of squares. They are incredibly colourful. Hopefully they're very cheery, very joyful, and you will have a lot of fun knitting them up. Do keep in touch. Do email me with any stories, any pictures that you have as you're knitting up your cushion. We love to include these in the blog, obviously with your permission, but you know, they are really lovely to receive, and you know, will be lovely to share. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, ideas, send them in. I look forward to seeing you back here on the 15th of July for the second instalment. In the meantime, have the most fabulous month. Please keep well, keep busy, keep knitting, and I'll see you in July. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.